Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about some strange things. First, let's dive into the hilarious conversation between Davis and Karen. As a child, he always aimed to outdo his peers, yet they always left him far behind. But he's a fighter, still striving to outdo them. Davis' words acted as a guiding star, aiding Karen to rediscover her goal. He began sorting his drawer-worthy underwear. The next morning, he met Karen's son Chris, a rebellious teen who's a master of profanity. Chris tried to show off his toughness with bad words, and Davis just listened, casually mentioning that while curses are cool, too many make you look cheap. That day, Davis followed Karen to a weed shop, but what got him even more excited was discovering a carousel that the owner wanted to smash. What? Exactly what he loved. Davis sprang into action, but stepping onto the carousel, memories of his wife flooded back. Later, he and Karen hit the beach, reminiscing about funny memories with his wife, and Karen asked, "Do you miss her?" Davis was confused about missing his wife. Memories flashed whenever he thought of her. While showering at Karen's one day, he saw his wife's reflection in the mirror, felt suffocated, and burst into tears. Feeling sick, he rushed to the hospital, rambling about how his whole body was numb, and had felt this way for a decade. The doctor conducted tests and found a chunk gone from his heart, all in Davis' wild imagination. Davis' peculiar behaviors these days led his father-in-law to halt the ongoing projects, and the frowning father-in-law inquired, "What's the point of all this?" He likened it to a wall-hung stone clock, its craftsmanship so intricate he wanted to dismantle it. But that clock was a keepsake from his grandmother, so the father-in-law had no choice but to put his foot down. When Davis got home, he suddenly heard rock music blaring from Karen's place. Peeking in, he saw Chris dancing like crazy, and Davis decided to let him be. After a while, Chris finally came out, and the two started shooting the breeze. Davis asked Chris why he skipped school. Chris, looking helpless, said it was for revealing US military presence in the Middle East. And guess what? The school expelled him, so this little professor found himself jobless. On an ordinary afternoon, he stumbled upon Chris rocking out on the drums, and the rhythmic beats recharged his batteries. With every hit, Davis found himself moving, totally immersed in the rhythm. Davis fell in love with that wild vibe and asked Chris for a copy. Once off the subway, he slapped on his headphones and cranked up the volume without a care in the world. He was lost in his own world, dancing freely, unbothered by others. With his spirits high, Davis strutted into the office. Inside the accounting room, his father-in-law was setting up a foundation with his daughter's insurance payout. He was interviewing students who needed financial support with the task originally meant for Davis, who kept interrupting. Davis' disdain and laziness nearly drove his father-in-law crazy. "Today we choose the last option," his father-in-law shouted. "I want your signature on my desk tomorrow. Are you ready?" Davis hesitated, staring at the paperwork, unable to sign. Memories of his wife flooded his mind like a tidal wave. The couch that he leaned against, along with the shelves visible everywhere, were all his wife's favorites during her lifetime, and that familiar suffocating sensation enveloped him once again. To escape those memories, he and Chris hit up a hardware store, ready to demolish the villa. Subtitles: everything here is connected to his wife, and Davis felt as though it were a malignant tumor. If it were not excised, he would continue to feel suffocated indefinitely. During a break, Chris saw Davis with a long face and tried to help him smile. The next day, he ordered a little cart online. Planning to level the floors, he ordered a cart online, but the quality was so lousy that it broke down within minutes. So Davis had to go manual and started tearing down the second floor. When he entered the bedroom, he raised a hammer at his wife's vanity. Just after 2 strikes, he uncovered a surprising find: a medical report from last year about his wife. He was utterly bewildered since his wife never mentioned anything about being pregnant. At that moment, he just wanted to find his in-laws to get some answers. The afternoon sun was so bright, he could hardly open his eyes. Pulling down the car sun visor, he discovered a note from his wife taped there. However, at the very moment, he had absolutely no inclination to read it. as his mind was entirely preoccupied with the news of his wife's pregnancy. When he arrived at his in-law's house, he stumbled right into his wife's memorial service. He was too frantic to care about anyone's in front of a large gathering of guests. He unabashedly inquired whether anyone was aware of his wife's past pregnancy. The evasive look in his mother-in-law's eyes seemed to reveal something to Davis. As he left, his mother-in-law rushed out to tell the truth. Hearing it, he looked struck by lightning. He didn't know how to react. Should he rage at his deceased wife or feel sorry for himself? The subtitles reveal his wife was unfaithful to the marriage, and he seemed to love her with a sense of helplessness. Davis found himself in yet another dilemma, staring at his wife's gravestone for what felt like an eternity, until a stranger came to place flowers, and he mistakenly thought it was his wife's lover and couldn't help but speak up. The stranger listened with a baffled look on his face, nervously explaining that he was just the guy who had hit them that day. Realizing his mistake, Davis calmed him. His wife's affair no longer seemed important. What he really wanted to know was whether he ever truly loved his wife. As he picked up the discarded note from the car, he found it had one of his wife's little jokes written on it. "If it's raining and you can't see me, think of me when it's sunny." At that moment, Davis reminisced about all those notes and jokes his wife used to make. Unbeknownst to him, his emotions switched from laughter to tears. He realized he didn't stop loving her, he had just made that love a habit. Once love turns into a habit, it will naturally blend into life seamlessly. If you really enjoyed this video, don't forget to give a like and subscribe.